Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today's guest is back on the show by popular demand. He's political pundit Roger Stone. And Roger, I want to welcome you back to the show. And sorry about that raid they had on your house recently. Oh my God.
Well, I think most people know that the fake news media said for 2 years I would be charged with Russian collusion or treason or conspiracy, and that, of course, did not happen. I'm charged with some process crimes, allegedly lying to Congress. I pled not guilty. I will fight those charges. It takes an enormous effort. It's extremely draining, but I'm not going to plead guilty to something I didn't do. Now, the judge has put a gag order on me, so I can't discuss the case, the prosecution, the court, or anything about it. I can still talk about politics.
Sure.
I can still talk about my personal situation. It's very interesting that in America, in the blink of an eye, you can lose your home, your savings, your insurance, your car, and your livelihood, not to mention your voice. But if it happens to me, it can happen to you.
Yeah, it is scary in that sense, that sometimes, what you say can be held against you, so to speak. I'm all about, basically the rights of the person, and I don't like to see anyone's civil rights, basically violated. And, when I saw the raid on your house on the news, obviously we saw the footage of it. I mean, it looked like you were Pablo Escobar they were coming to get. Why do you think that they sent SWAT teams and helicopters and boats and people dressed in body armor to come arrest, a man in his 60s who has no history of violence whatsoever?
Well, it's an excellent question. The government said that I was a potential flight risk, but the truth is I don't own a valid passport. I don't own a gun. There were no guns in the house. And I have a pretty recognizable face, so I'm going to go. What's interesting to me, though, is a more interesting question is, why was CNN allowed to set up a camera 25 feet from my front door and film the whole thing?
Yeah.
If I'm considered dangerous, and the street was cleared and sealed, and my neighbors were told to stay inside, why were they allowed to remain there? They got there roughly 15 minutes ahead of the FBI. Now, just this week, the FBI has refused to turn over emails between the FBI and CNN in the days prior to my arrest, and they're now being sued to get those documents, and I think we will find out the answer to the question.
You think what they did to you was more of an intimidation type of tactic to maybe scare you into, copping a plea and doing some jail time? I mean,
I couldn't speculate.
Okay. I mean, to me, it seems like it was more for show than it was for safety or security of the people who were arresting you. That's for sure.
Well, I couldn't speculate.
They could have gotten you walking out of your house, in the morning, to go walk the dog, and then it probably would have been a little easier to arrest you than have to come while it was dark, with they look like they were invading, Iraq, with what showed up at your house.
Well, it's a unique experience. In the meantime, my trial will be in November in the District of Columbia.
Yeah.
And now, given the fact that I really can't speak and write as I normally would, because as you can imagine, what people want me to speak and write about are precisely those topics that I'm prevented from speaking about, I spend most of my time preparing for trial. The government announced that they had given us 4 terabytes of evidence in discovery. That's about 750 million pages.
Oh my God!
If it was paper and you stacked it, it would be the Washington Monument times 2. So I have 4 lawyers. They're very good. They're not working. They're working at far below their normal rates. But if each lawyer read 150,000 documents a day, times 4, we still wouldn't be through all of that material.
Oh
now, there's a protective order, so I can't discuss what's in there.
Sure.
But we'll be prepared when the trial comes. And I can tell people that I'm going to mount a very vigorous defense. It will not be inexpensive. My lawyers project that it's going to cost me $2 million.
Oh my God! Wow.
I have set up a legal defense fund at stonedefensefund.com. 43,000 people have contributed so far. People are following my case and people are praying for me. Many people have donated numerous times. I have some large donors, but most of these people are just 25s and 50s. And God bless you, because I've been destroyed financially. They have ruined my family's finances. We recently had to move out of the house that you saw, in the CNN video, to a smaller 1-bedroom apartment in a more secure location. And as I said, I had to sell my car.
Terrible.
It has not been easy, but here's the best thing about this. I'm back in the gym.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How do you deal with that kind of level of stress? You're not just being prosecuted. You're like being prosecuted as if you're public enemy number 1 against the government, and that has to be tremendously stressful. A lot of people would take a plea just to get rid of that stress. You're going and actually fighting them in court. I know bodybuilding has always been like a stalwart in your life. You've always used that as a way to stay strong throughout the years. I know back in the 70s it was probably running, and then it progressed to weight training. What's your current workout regimen like now and diet?
Well, I think I have to tell the whole story so people can understand it. I was an addicted runner doing 9 miles a day. I was addicted to the endorphins. I weighed about 145 pounds. I could eat whatever I wanted, but my knees started giving me trouble. That's when I met Ameen, calls himself Guru Ameen. He was 19 years old. It was 1992.
Right.
He worked out at a gym where I worked out. Ironically, he was training a very well-known, prominent Democrat. He was training a couple of reporters who I think you would call liberal. Ameen is really not political. He thinks all politics is bull. He's right about that. But he took me on as a client. He put me on a diet. He put me on a regimen. I was lifting too much weight, risking injury. And in 8 months, I went from 145 pounds to 200 pounds. And I basically stuck with it until I would say about 2015. And then, frankly, my schedule got such that, I just didn't have the time to get into the gym. My cardio dropped off. I was drinking too many martinis. I was eating too well. And my weight went up to about 210. And I gained a couple inches in the waist, which, if you wear custom-made suits, is really a problem.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
So in this particular case, to deal with the enormous stress of preparation for this trial, I reached out to my old friend, Ameen, who's a stand-up guy. I mean, I knew that he had trained Craig Titus and Tony Freeman. He's a legend in bodybuilding circles, and he should be, because he's extraordinarily knowledgeable. And I said, look, dude, I'm in lousy shape and I got to get in top shape for my trial. So put me on a diet, put me on a regimen. I'm back in the gym. I was sore for the first couple of days, but I feel great. And I'm going to get right back into fighting shape.
Well, you look good. I was going to say, you don't look your age. You look like you're probably 10, 15, 20 years younger than probably what you are. And I think that's a testament to you've always lived a good life. So my question though, Roger, is, you've had presidents, calling you on the phone, asking you for advice. I mean, you probably take it as like it's just another day because you're so used to it already. I mean, how does that feel when you look back at your political career and you see that presidents actually depended on you for advice and for doing things for them? Does that validate you, to the point where it really kind of, gives you the motivation to fight, the fight, and to still prove your innocence?
Well, I'm very proud of my track record. You know, it's interesting because the LA Times about a week ago wrote a story in which it said self-described dirty trickster Roger Stone. You'll see that everywhere. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. There's only one problem. I have never described myself that. Anyway, it's just not true. Other people have described me that way, and I guess I'm kind of stuck with it. To their credit, the LA Times printed a correction. Look, I'm proud of my work for Ronald Reagan, one of our greatest presidents. Yeah. I'm proud of my work for Richard Nixon, a man who opened the door to China, got a strategic arms limitation agreement with the Russians, did away with the draft, desegregated the public schools, an extraordinary record of accomplishment that kind of gets lost in the ashes of Watergate. Yeah. And I'm particularly proud, obviously, of my support for Donald Trump, who's been my friend for 40 years. Pardon me 1 second. Can we ask them for a few moments just to stop? Sorry, we have a workman here. So.
I hear. Yeah, we get that this once in a while too. Yeah. Yes, I mean, but like I said, you know, what you said was completely true. I mean, you're not talking about like guys from the gym. You're talking about like presidents who, you know, who considered you someone who was very valuable to them, and that has to validate everything that you do on a regular basis. And to me, that's very impressive. You know, that you had that level of trust, you know, with the most powerful men in the world. I mean, and obviously Donald Trump, who's currently our president now, feels, you know, tremendously about you. Obviously, just recently, the reports obviously are being released now that obviously there was no Russian collusion. At least Trump has been, I guess, released of any collusion with the Russians. Did you know that was going to come down like that? Did you know that eventually would be released? You know, that Trump had no knowledge?
Yes, and I don't think there was any collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Beyond that, I don't really want to discuss it. Yeah. Trump is a unique phenomenon. I mean, he's his own man. Unlike other political figures and politicians I've worked for who rely heavily on their advisors, Trump marches to his own beat. And he's his own phrase maker. He's his own speech writer. He's his own scheduler. Nobody tells Donald Trump what to say, what to do, who to see, where to go. He's really fiercely independent. And that's really why, going all the way back to 1988, I thought he had the capacity to be a great president. It took a Republican president to change the criminal justice system and the inequities in our sentencing, where a black kid who gets caught on a first-time offense with a small amount of illegal drugs, a nonviolent crime, is getting a more harsh penalty, mandatory penalty, than a rich white lawyer who's caught with powdered cocaine. That's wrong. That's racist. And the jails are full of people of color and poor people who are there because of this inequity. Who fixed it? Not Barack Obama, not Bill Clinton. No, Donald Trump fixed it.
Will Donald Trump be reelected in your estimation again?
I think he's in a very strong position to get reelected because of the economy. Look, I'm not going to tell you that he's perfect, nor that I agree with everything he says and does. He's an unguided missile. He does things his way. But, you know, we're talking about 4.9 million new jobs, 650,000 new manufacturing jobs, the stock market at record levels, unemployment at the lowest point since 1969, African American and Hispanic unemployment at the lowest point since those statistics began being kept. That is obviously the strong basis for re-election. In North Korea, he's already achieved what Obama and Clinton and Bush could not. He got them to the table. I don't know if he's going to get a deal, but it never hurts to work for peace. He will do no deal rather than a bad deal, but at least he's got them to the table, which everybody said was impossible.
Right.
He's redoing these big multinational, multi-international trade deals that were screwing us, stealing the jobs from America. But there's only two things that can happen that would, I think, prevent his reelection. One is internet censorship, which is a giant problem because Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and Google particularly are colluding to limit the voices of non-liberals, to limit the voices of libertarians and conservatives and Trump supporters and so on. And that's a very serious problem because it takes away the president's megaphone. There's no way to amplify or to communicate independently.
Right.
Really, what this is about is the mainstream media, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and now Fox, lost control of the political narrative in this country in 2016 due to a robust, vibrant internet.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
They want it back. They want to shut the internet access down to get control back. I think that's very dangerous.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think about it? Will we ever have a wall between the United States and Mexico? Will that happen?
Well, I think we'll have a secure border. I mean, I think in different places on the border it will be done differently, but I think he will secure the border. If you don't have a secure border, then you don't have a country. Yeah. And it cheats the people who are trying to come here legally for the promise of America. It's kind of funny. The media told us weeks ago, there's no crisis on the border. These caravans aren't real, and even if they are, they'll never get there. Now you see the video of people storming the border, and now the narrative is, oh, there's a crisis at the border, and it's Donald Trump's fault. Yeah. Look, I don't get my news from CNN for the same reason I don't eat out of the toilet.
One more question, Roger, before I let you go. CBD, cannabinoid oils, will they ever be legally sold? I mean, continually, or do you think the drug companies will pick up that little lead there?
Well, look, one of the keys to Trump's reelection, and I said this yesterday at a website here called The Influential, is to come through on his commitment. In 2016, Trump said that he supported the state's rights to legalize cannabis. And now I think he should take cannabis off the Schedule I list.
Right.
He should support more funding for research into the medical benefits, because that's always been inadequate. And frankly, he should announce that he's prepared to work with Republicans and Democrats for full legalization. It's time. The American people are overwhelmingly for it. It would be very popular with some of your traditional Democratic voter groups. I think it's exactly what the president should do. And
it would probably bring income into the government, I would think, right, from taxation on it.
It would bring in millions of dollars. Why, for example, New York State is moving towards legalization. Governor Andrew Cuomo's always been opposed. Now suddenly he's a strong proponent. Why? They need the revenues. They need the money.
Yeah. Well, Roger, you always have great opinions, and you're usually right about everything you say. And I just want to wish you the best of luck with your campaign and your trial, obviously, that's coming up. And no one should have to go through what you're going through. And stay in the gym. That's, I think, going to be your salvation.
Well, a lot of people ask me where they can get this T-shirt. The answer
I forgot. I meant to say that.
1776.shop. 1776.shop. There's several variations. There's a long sleeve and so on. That money goes to my legal defense fund after costs, which are fairly minimal. 15,000 people have bought these T-shirts and are wearing them. You can see them on my Instagram feed.
It's a nice shirt. It's a very thin shirt. I have one. I actually wear it out. No one beats me up when I wear it. And it's a good quality shirt. And once again, it's going towards Roger's fund to help fund his battle against the government. If you guys want to obviously help him out, you can go to, what is it, 1776.com?
Shop. Or if you just want to make a contribution, go to stonedefensefund.com. Stonedefensefund.com. Thank you, guys, and God bless you.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate it. And guys, that's going to take us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next time.